Hey everyone, Champion Trader Kevin Davey here, and in this video I'm going to talk about the algo strategies that I'm going to be trading this next month. So let's take a look. Before we get started, if you haven't signed up for my free algo strategy, now's the time to do so. Hit the QR code or enter the link you see at the bottom, or in the description you'll find a link. Sign up, you'll get this free algo and lots of other great information. Alright, so in this video I'm going to talk about what I'm trading in August of 2025. I'm trading 16 different strategies. 4 are ags or meats in that sector, 3 are in metals, 3 are in energies, 3 are in stock indices, and 3 are in interest rates. I don't have any in currencies or softs like cocoa, coffee, and cotton this month. They just didn't pass the criteria I was looking for. But overall, I have 16 different strategies that I'm trading. I'm going to show you the hypothetical results since January of 2023, so the last 2.5 years. Like I said, hypothetical, so treat it as hypothetical. No guarantee that it's going to continue the way it has, but I'll show you what it historically had. And remember, past performance is no guarantee of future results. That's very important. So here are the strategies, and here is a combined equity curve of what they've looked like the last 2.5 years. If you average it out, it's roughly about $1,000 per strategy per month. Now, some of the strategies trade more than one contract. Some of the strategies are on the micros. Well, one in particular, which trades the micro mini NASDAQ, and it's only trading 2 of the micro mini, so it's a very small contract relative to some of the other ones like normal size gold or crude oil. But this is what the performance overall, add them up, all looks like. Of course, you might say, wow, that looks pretty good with that profit. But remember, there's always a downside, and that's the drawdown. And you can see back in early 2024, there was a pretty sizable drawdown. And then there was also one in somewhere around April or May of 2023. So drawdowns happen even with good strategies. Now lately there hasn't been as much of a drawdown, but just remember, these can always occur, and they're always worse than you think they are, and emotionally they're always tougher. You know, it's one thing to look at an equity curve and say, oh yeah, I could trade that. It's another thing to live through that equity curve and live through drawdowns like this. But that's what you'd have to endure. So let's take a look at just a few of the strategies. The first one is wheat, and you can see its equity curve, closed trade equity curve, looks pretty decent. It did have a couple significant drawdowns, and over time it's made money on the long side, but it's made more money on the short side. But it's been a pretty good strategy. Next, we have a crude oil strategy, and again, it's made money long, but it's made more money short, and you can see it continues to chug away, get new equity highs, but in between it does have some prolonged periods that are flat to down. So it's not a perfect strategy, and that's something you should keep in mind as you build your algo strategies. If they look perfect, that's usually a tip-off that you're doing something wrong. Too good to be true usually is. The third strategy I'll show you is gold, and even though it's been making new equity highs lately, look, there was a period of time where it was just going down and down and down. So could you trade that? I don't know. Maybe you'd turn it off at some point, and then when it recovered and made a new equity high, then you'd look at trading it again. But this is a real equity curve of a real strategy, so it's something to keep in mind. It too makes money on the long side and the short side, which is always nice. Well, if you'd like more information on algo trading, hit the QR code. It'll take you to Amazon where you can look at my 5 trading books. Here's one on the 30-year Treasury bonds. This is a 1440 minute bar, which is basically a daily bar. Makes much more money long than short, which is kind of interesting over the period of this, because most of this time bonds were headed up, and that's when interest rates were going down. But even though the last couple of years interest rates have been going up, it still made money on the short side. So that's nice to see, but it's done well over a long period of time. And then the last one is the micro mini NASDAQ strategy. And you can see for a long time it didn't do much of anything, but around trade 400 or so it really took off, and which I think was around 2020, maybe 2019. And ever since then it's done pretty good, although it did have a significant drawdown around trade 550 or so. This is trading 2 of the micro mini NASDAQ, so keep that in mind. But it's done pretty well over a long period of time, and especially recently. So those are 5 strategies that are part of that portfolio I'm trading. Just wanted to give you an idea of what some real algo curves look like. You know, nothing here could be considered, oh my gosh, too good to be true and looks awesome. They all have drawbacks to them. None of them look that great. You know, this strategy looks pretty good, and it's made money on the long side and the short side. That's something that's probably pretty important for stock indices, because you never know when we're going to go into a bull market or a bear market. And either way, you're covered. So, you might wonder, hey, what's in these strategies? I'll just tell you, one strategy of those 5 actually uses moving averages and RSI for entry signals. And you might say, well, wait, I've always been told that doesn't work anymore and those things don't work. Well, they can work, and that's the point I'm trying to make here. They don't always work, but there are situations where moving averages, RSI, a lot of the traditional things where they can work. So just don't dismiss them just because, oh, everybody's using them and that kind of thing. You have to test it. If it works, maybe it's worth trading. But simple concepts usually work, and I can tell you all these strategies are pretty simple in what they do when they enter and exit. Now, speaking of exits, not all of them have stop losses, which a lot of people, that would just be a showstopper for them. They'd be like, no way am I trading something without a stop loss. I get it. That's perfectly fine. That's something you can decide. If you need a stop loss for the emotional and psychological impact, make sure you put it in. Some of my strategies don't have stop losses. They will exit on a reverse signal, but those can lead to big losses, so keep that in mind. And then finally, all these strategies were developed with my proprietary process. I call it the Strategy Factory because it helps you build multiple strategies, but that's how I built these. And if you want more information, you can just go to my website. All right, so what do you think? Leave comments. Let me know what you're trading. Let me know which ones you would trade or wouldn't trade. And if you think you know which one might be the moving average RSI system, leave a comment. Let me know. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll make more every month of this type of video. All right, so thanks for watching. I'm Kevin Davey. Have a great day.